there. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, September 18th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, we have starter sit decisions for the final week, breakout hitter appreciation, welcome back to Cole Ragans, and much more. Scott, you are coming to us from parts unknown. Where did your grandparents' living room go?
Well, now I went from a room that just looked like it belonged to a grandparent to now I'm in an actual grandparent's house.
It's different than the last time you were at your grandparents' house.
Yeah, I'm in a different room.
I remember there being some like wood beams behind you last time.
Last time you just put Scott in the attic and they said, go podcast.
No, I was at the dining room table last time, and now I am in like an office with bookcases behind me and wallpaper. Yeah, no, here I am. It's a fumigation situation at our house. Termites being taken care of, so I wasn't allowed to stay there. I might not have survived it. So I'm happy to be
don't think
here.
so.
Yes.
Fumigation situation.
We need you around.
A fumigation situation sounds like an 80s DC punk band.
Yeah, it kind of does. All right, well, with that, let's jump in.
In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
And Eugenio Suarez has been impossibly bad until Wednesday. Scott, you're up.
He did have a huge game. He went 4 for 4 with a double and his 46th home run. Wow, that's a lot of home runs. Here's the problem, though, for Eugenio Suarez. He had gone 0 for 32 in his previous 8 games prior to this 4 for 4 performance. 0 for 32. Here's the thing about that 0 for 32 performance in 8 games. 7 of those games were in Seattle. Here's the thing about Eugenio Suarez in Seattle. He is batting 0.96 there this season. Obviously, joined the Mariners at the trade deadline. There were concerns because he kind of struggled to hit. Still was a decent power bat, but definitely not the elite player he's been in fantasy the past 2 years during his time in Seattle. Really seemed to suffer there. I think he's still suffering there. 0.96 in 2.5 months or a month and a half's time. Not a huge sample, but we already have some evidence that this was not a good place for Eugenio Suarez to hit. And that seems to be playing out again. Fortunately, and I had actually forgotten about this. I'm sure some of you listening hadn't. But fortunately, he is a free agent this season. So I hope he doesn't stay in Seattle. But I do think we'll want to monitor where Eugenio Suarez goes because it seems to make a difference. Seattle's the worst case scenario, but there are maybe some others that wouldn't be so good for him either.
It really does look like he just cannot hit in Seattle. And that's the only place, because you look at the 3 places he has called home throughout his career. Great American Ballpark, 851 OPS career. Chase Field, 928. Now, I don't think he was actually a 928 OPS bat. That's a smaller sample size, but he was awesome there. Mm-hmm. Seattle, it's a 722. Like, his strikeout rate goes way up. His BABIP collapses. And this is something that we've talked about with some other players, right? Like, Randy Arozarena getting to Seattle has actually fared really well. And part of that might be that he was coming from Tampa, which is another famously difficult place to see the ball.
Well, those are the 2 we've gotten reports from players who've left it.
And that
it can be tough to pick up the ball there.
And Arozarena's production hasn't really been affected playing in Seattle. He's basically been the same guy he always was. And
it doesn't affect everybody.
Yeah.
It just seems to affect certain players.
That's the thing that's tough, is we don't know who it does and doesn't affect in the same way. But in Eugenio Suarez's case, he has been an elite power hitter everywhere he's been in his career. And it just seems like he cannot hit in Seattle. And hopefully he does not resign. I think he's a great player. I think Seattle could really use a player like Eugenio Suarez. I just don't think it can be a Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, he is 34.
Yep.
He'll be 35 around the All-Star break next year. So getting old. It doesn't mean. I guess there's just now been this sliver of doubt reintroduced by his time in Seattle. It's probably just Seattle, but because at his age, the decline could come at any point. And if he doesn't sign with Arizona, Seattle, or Cincinnati, which he probably won't, we don't really have any indication of how he's going to perform there. And he's old. Mainly, it's that he's old.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be difficult to rank for next year, no matter where he signs.
I think Friday's newsletter will be the toughest players to rank at third base. I'm doing that all week with the positions that I'm starting to go through the rankings with. And Eugenio Suarez is definitely going to be on that list for sure.
It would have been interesting to see how his season would have played out if he remained in Arizona. Perhaps there was just natural regression coming because he was just so unreal in the first half of the season. But we'll never know how that would have played out. You guys mentioned the strikeouts going up in Seattle. His quality of contact has also come way down. His average exit velocity is down 5 miles per hour from where it was with Arizona, now in Seattle, from 91 to 86 miles per hour. So that is a huge, huge drop off there for Eugenio Suarez. Chris, let's go over to you for your player of the night and perhaps a little preamble to the player.
Yeah, I just want to, I actually didn't have anything at stake here, but I've seen a couple of people who, lost points because Jesus Luzardo was in line for a quality start. And then it just was one of the weirdest decisions that I've seen a manager make all season. He was at 100 pitches, finishing 7. I think he had 3 earned runs allowed and, was it 8 strikeouts, something like that? He had a very good start.
6 strikeouts. Over
6
strikeouts.
Fine
start.
And then they left him in to start the 8th inning at 100 pitches to face Shohei Ohtani for the 4th time in the game. And that just seems unfair to Jesus Luzardo. And I've seen some suggestion that the Phillies are just kind of trying to play the meta game and avoid getting a look at their good lefty relievers for Shohei Ohtani to save him for the playoffs. But they were already losing 3-0. They don't really have much to play for in the standings at this point. That just felt really unfair to Jesus Luzardo. And it was frustrating to watch it in the moment, and it shouldn't have happened. And so I think Jesus Luzardo should still get the quality start in this start.
And that could be a huge swing for people who play in head-to-head categories championships right now. If quality starts as a category, losing out on a full quality start is a big thing. So yeah, that is unfortunate there for Jesus Luzardo.
Now
Are you actually proposing the commissioner override?
No.
What happened?
Okay. No, but in my
heart,
almost
sounded like that.
In my heart, he got the quality start.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
In your personal record book.
In my personal record books, we're going to look back and I'm going to subtract 1 run from Jesus Luzardo's total at the end of the season. My actual, oh my goodness gracious, player is Gavin Williams, who actually was great today. I've said many things about Gavin Williams this season. Very few of them have been positive. I think he is the king of he can't keep getting away with it this season. But he was great tonight. And I want to be fair at the start because he had 9 strikeouts, 2 walks over 5 innings. It was typical Gavin Williams. He needed 100 pitches to get through 5 innings. But, hey, he was great, and he deserves credit for that. Now let's say negative things about Gavin Williams. He has a 2.63 ERA since May 1st. And in that time, the numbers aren't completely updated, but it's going to be something like a 4.50 FIP and something like a 4.40 xERA and a 11.8 K minus walk percentage, which is not a stat that we cite very often, but is a very important one when evaluating pitchers. If you look at the K minus walk rate leaders, it's Tarek Skubal, Garrett Crochet, and Paul Skeens. Seems like a pretty good stat. Joe Ryan, Brian Wu. You have some outliers like Sonny Gray is 6th. Quality of contact matters as well, but it's a pretty good rough estimate for how good a pitcher is. And Gavin Williams' 11.8% mark would be tied with Jose Barrios for 41st in baseball this season. He's got that ERA almost to 3 now, and it's been phenomenal for 4 months straight. And I know that it's, to a certain extent, all we care about are the results, right? And I am not suggesting that you should have benched Gavin Williams during this stretch or anything like that. I am saying next season you should not draft Gavin Williams as if the 3 ERA is real, because it is very much not real.
I mostly agree with everything that you said, because how can I not? The numbers don't lie. The underlying metrics say that Gavin Williams has perhaps been pitching over his head for a long time now. For this specific start,
he was great tonight.
He did, and yeah, you pointed that out, but I just wanted to point out his pitch mix. He changed it completely. He led with his breaking pitches, and both of them were amazing. He had 6 whiffs on each of his curve and sweeper. And, you know, if he was doing this for longer and that kind of coincided with the good numbers, then we could point to, all right, he made a change and he's pitching better because of it. That hasn't been the case all season. He's kind of tinkered with his pitch mix all year, but those breaking pitches are still really, really good. And he threw them a lot in this start, and he was good as a result of that. So I did have a question for later on. Are we using Gavin Williams the final week of the season? He's 58% started. He gets the Tigers again next week. So it's facing the same offense 2 times out in a row. What do you guys think?
I think it's fine to use him. Okay. And to be clear, like, he is obviously talented. It's very similar to a Cade Horton situation where these are obviously talented pitchers. They have a lot of interesting skills. I just think they have not pitched as well as their overall numbers. And that doesn't mean they're not good. It doesn't mean they won't be better next season than they have been. It just means that you should take their production with a big grain of salt. And this is difficult because ERA is by far the most important stat for a pitcher in fantasy baseball. That is undeniable. Like, almost everything else of a pitcher's value flows from how many runs they give up per inning started. ERA also has next to 0 predictive value. That's just true. Like, we have been doing this long enough. We know that ERA from one season to the next tells you almost nothing about what you should expect from a pitcher next year. We have way better things to predict ERA. And all of those ways to predict ERA tell us that Gavin Williams has probably pitched more like a 4 to 4.5 ERA pitcher. And he is more likely to do that next season than he is to be a 3 ERA pitcher or even a 3.50 ERA pitcher. He may get better. There are clearly skills here. He's gigantic and he gets a lot of extension and he throws his fastball 96 to 99 miles an hour. And he's got a couple of really interesting breaking balls. And there's a lot to like here. But he needs to be better to justify what his price in 2026 is likely to be.
There's a lot I want to say. Like, I think there's too much to unpack here for me to start unpacking it, considering we've already talked for 8 minutes about Gavin Williams. So I guess I would just say I'm more open to it. Obviously, it depends on.
But make the case. The audience deserves to hear the opposite case.
We'll have more time.
We don't have to argue about it. No. But I'm saying we don't have to argue about it. Just present the case.
I think it would take too long.
I guess I win the argument. Next player.
I agree with that. We probably should move on to the next player.
Yeah. So. If people draft him only if they rank pitchers by ERA and they look at Gavin Williams' ERA that's barely over 3 and say, okay, I'm going to draft him 20th or whatever that would mean, 18th. Okay, yeah, that's like too high. I don't think that's actually going to happen because the whip is high, the strikeout rate's not very high, and just like people who rank fantasy baseball players are way more savvy than that. I think we've seen some interesting strides from Williams. I think he's really talented. If he's drafted in the 40 to 50 range at starting pitcher, I think I'd be in for that.
Sure, I agree with all that. Yeah.
All right, so here we are. We're agreeing. My player of the night is Ian Seymour, who was great against the Blue Jays. 7 innings, 1 unearned run, only 3 strikeouts in this one, only 7 whiffs on 100 pitches. Blue Jays, typically a team that does not strike out very much, but he continues to pitch well. The last 5 games, 4 of those being starts, basically since he's joined the Rays rotation. 171 ERA, a .99 whip, 29 strikeouts to 7 walks over 26 and a third innings. I think we have a legit pitcher here in Ian Seymour. He's 42% rostered, and it looks like as of now he lines up for 2 starts next week at the Orioles, at the Blue Jays. Not the best matchups, but I really like the pitcher, and I am okay recommending him for the final week of the season.
Yeah, this was the first time I think he had exceeded 5 1/3 innings.
Yep.
It makes a big difference if we feel like he can go 6 than if we feel like he can't. That's kind of the tipping point for how usable a pitcher. Like the pitcher's ratios have to be phenomenal if you're going to accept guaranteed less than 6 innings from him. It is only once, but it says a lot, especially since it was the most recent start for Seymour, and it came against a Blue Jays offense that's been pretty ridiculous for a while now,
especially against lefties.
Yeah. So I think he's legit. I think he's the kind of the pitcher equivalent to Jacob Marcy this year, where even modern evaluation standards overlooked this guy in the minors. Like, he was just killing it, and everybody kept overlooking him in spite of that. And he's come to the majors and done a lot of the same thing. You said the matchups were what for Seymour next week?
At Baltimore, at Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact he lines up for 2 starts.
Presuming
he does, because they're going 6-man right now, right? Did you factor that in?
I just looked at whatever CBS had for it. I'm
sorry, I was thinking the Blue Jays. He was facing the Blue Jays. He's on the Rays. Yeah, no, I think he'll probably be pretty high in the 2-star pitcher rankings.
All right, again, that was Ian Seymour. Also want to give a shout out to Blake Snell, who was incredible against the Phillies. 7 shutout innings with 12 strikeouts here, had 24 whiffs on 112 pitches. He had everything working. The curveball was a little bit different in this one. The velocity was up 1.2 miles per hour. It also had 5 less inches of vertical break, and it was awesome. 9 of his 24 whiffs came on that curveball. Last 2 starts for Blake Snell, 13 shutout innings with 23 strikeouts. He is getting hot at the right time for the Dodgers here, heading into the postseason. Obviously, he had a little bit of a kind of rough stretch there a couple starts ago, back in early September, late August. But obviously, if you have Blake Snell and you're still playing, you're using him, and obviously very excited about what you're getting from Blake Snell.
Did you see him shove Dave Roberts aside when he came out to get him?
No, I did not.
Yeah, Dave Roberts came to pull him, I think, midway through the 7th, and he was like, I got this. I think he literally said, I got this. Alex Vesia had already come onto the field and had to jog back to the bullpen. It was a great moment. It was very, very cool.
Nice. Yeah, I shut that game off because I had Jesus Luzardo in a bunch of leagues. As soon as I turned the game on, he gave up 2 runs, and I'm like, nope. Shut off my computer. I'm like, I'm not watching this anymore. It was one of my most frustrating days as a fantasy player. Just every pitcher that I had got rocked today. And it was, Luzardo didn't get rocked, but all the other ones did. And it was very frustrating. Big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today, let's run through the news and notes. Junior Caminero left Wednesday's game due to mid-back tightness. He is day-to-day, so something to watch here. But you might need a third base replacement for the rest of this week and perhaps the final week of the season as well.
Did you guys realize Junior Caminero is shooting for most home runs ever in an age 21 season? He's 3 away from the record.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Frank Robinson, right?
I can't remember who it was now. Basically, he's one of only 3 players to hit 40 homers in an age 21 season. Ronald Acuna is one. I'm forgetting who the top one was. Was it Frank Robinson?
I wrote about this a couple weeks ago.
I thought it was Eddie Matthews, actually.
That might be.
But anyway, Caminero's on. in historic territory
It
as
is
far
Eddie
as hitting
Matthews,
home
yeah.
runs for a 21-year-old. Yeah, Eddie Matthews, the record he's shooting for.
Shohei Ohtani has had discussions with the Dodgers about playing outfield so that he could be used as a reliever. I assume they're thinking more about the postseason at this point, so I don't think it'll affect any type of eligibility things for next season. Could be something that they're looking at down the line as well. You know, maybe as he gets into his 30s, maybe they don't want to use him as a starter anymore, but still as a reliever. Perhaps he will start to play outfield as he ages a little bit here. But, you know, we've heard about this a few times before. We'll see if, you know, the Dodgers actually go through with it and allow Ohtani to play some outfield in the postseason. Kyle Tucker is seeking alternative treatment while the progress in his left calf has plateaued. Trevor Rogers has been cleared to start Friday against the Yankees. He left his most recent start with a blister on his left big toe. We don't hear that often. It's usually a blister on one of the fingers. This time a blister on the toe, but Trevor Rogers is cleared to start against the Yankees on Friday.
That was reminding me of a Dire Straits song, but that's fine. Keep going.
Wilson Contreras has been placed in the IL with a right bicep strain ending his season, and he was solid in his first year as a full-time first baseman. 257 batting average, 20 homers, 80 RBI, 5 steals over 135 games. Next year will be the first time that Wilson Contreras does not have catcher eligibility in fantasy. Dodgers catcher Will Smith will not be activated this weekend when first eligible. Jose Soriano left Wednesday's start after taking a 107-mile-per-hour line drive off of his right forearm. Surprisingly, Isaac Paredes is recovering well from his hamstring strain and could return this weekend against the Mariners. It is a massive series in the AL West standings, the wildcard standings, and all hands on deck here for the Astros. Xander Bogaerts took part in workouts at the team's facility and could return this weekend as well. He's been out since late August with a fracture in his foot. Connolly Early will start this Sunday against the Rays, so if you took the chance and you started him, you will be rewarded with a 2-start week for Connolly Early. The same thing could be said for Trey Yesavage.
Oh, yeah!
He will also pitch again this weekend against the Royals. So, again, if you use him, you will get a second start from Trey Yesavage. Willie Abreu is hoping to return at some point this weekend against the Rays. He's working his way back from a right calf strain. Tyler Soderstrom returned after missing 5 games with groin tightness. Xavier Edwards has missed 4 straight with right wrist discomfort. Francisco Alvarez was back in the lineup after getting hit by a pitch on Tuesday. He went 1 for 4 with his 9th home run. Martin Perez left his start early due to left shoulder soreness. Ryan Bergert is going on the IL with forearm tightness. Jose Quintana was placed in the IL with a left calf strain. Kyle Finnegan will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Thursday. He's missed most of September with an adductor strain. Tyler Mahle will return to start against the Marlins, on Friday. He got up to 52 pitches in his last rehab start. So maybe it's like 65 to 70 pitches. Yeah. I assume we're not using Tyler Mahle in his first start back.
We'll definitely try to avoid it.
Yeah, that would be risky.
All right. Next up, we have Alex Cora said Peyton Tolley will be used out of the bullpen for the remainder of the season, and the D-backs are moving Nabil Crismatt to the bullpen and going with a 4-man rotation the rest of the way. All right, Chris.
I'll trying to catch the Mets. They're going with the playoff rotation, the Diamondbacks. Peyton Tolley, 4. You want him to make 4 relief appearances over the final week and a half so that he can be RP eligible.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Year.
Yeah, let's get some sparks going, baby. Let's do it. All right, Chris, I'll throw it over to you for the dog of the week.
And now it's time for the Dog of the Week segment brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, Foxlaner, Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. And ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. And the Dog of the Week this week is Matthew Boyd, who has had a really, really nice season and is just kind of fumbling it at the end. And I don't know if he's running out of steam, if he's a little overworked. I think he only threw like 35 innings last season. He's up above 150 now. But playing against Pittsburgh, arguably the best matchup in baseball in Pittsburgh as well, he gave up 4 earned runs over 3 innings. Over his last 10 starts, his ERA is over 5. Over his last 6 starts, it's 6.61. only 25 strikeouts in 31 2/3 innings in that stretch. And this has been a tough one for me all season because the peripherals largely backed it up, but he was doing it with quality of contact. He wasn't getting a lot of strikeouts. His strikeout rate's been a little below average. Control's been great, but the main thing is that Matthew Boyd has just really limited hard contact, and that's a tough way to live because pitchers have a lot less control over that than hitters. And so it takes a long time to know if a pitcher is truly an outlier when it comes to quality of contact allowed. And for most of Matthew Boyd's career, to put it kindly, he was not an outlier in terms of quality of contact allowed, or as often as not, he was an outlier in the wrong direction. He gave up a lot of hard contact and a ton of home runs. He has changed a lot about himself in that time. He has become a much better pitcher. But it was always one that when things were going well, I still felt like it was going to fall apart at some point, and unfortunately it kind of has. But is that because of skills? Is that because of fatigue?
Well,
that's going to be a tough question to answer for 2026, especially because he's going to be 35 next year.
It's true that the math may have been against Matthew Boyd all along, and one way or another, maybe this would have happened. But I will note that what I've noticed during this rough stretch of his is that he's just lost his slider. It's just not there anymore. And that was the pitch that was getting most of the whiffs for Matthew Boyd. He threw it just 10% of the time in the start at Pittsburgh. It got 0 whiffs. Its vertical movement was down 5 inches. Its horizontal movement was up 4 inches. So it's just a completely different pitch.
Yeah, becoming more of a sweeper.
And that's been going on for a while now for Boyd and coincides with this rough patch. The whiff rate on it for the season now, I think, is down below 35%, which is a steep drop from where the slider was for Boyd earlier. So it may be as simple as that, like, okay, go to work on the slider, get it back, you'll be fine. But even if this hadn't happened because of sort of the bigger picture that you laid out for Boyd, Chris, I would have been fading him next year. Mm-hmm. Like, he probably would have been on my bust list. Now maybe he's taken that away from me. This dog of the week, Matthew Boyd, taking it away from me by just faltering the way he has here.
And I do think maybe part of the reason why he's lost feel for the slider, and Chris, you brought this up, is he's thrown a lot of innings this year. I mean, it is a huge increase. He's up to 174 in a third innings. Last year, 39 2/3, and he hasn't reached. It's the most
innings he's thrown since 2019.
Yeah, he hasn't reached even 80 innings in the majors since 2019. So that is a huge jump up. I think that could be a reasonable explanation for why Matthew Boyd is kind of fading here down the stretch. He's still 80% started. Next week, it looks like he lines up for 2 against the Mets and the Cardinals. Tough to say. He'll definitely make 2 starts because the Cubs might be lining up their rotation for the wild card series in the playoffs. So, I mean, it could just be 1 against the Mets. It could be 1 against the Cardinals. It could be both. Would you guys use Matthew Boyd the way he's struggling right now?
And I feel like it's more likely to be just 1 against the Mets than just 1 against the Cardinals, right?
Let me see which of those actually comes first in the.
I guess whatever start is first is more likely to be the one that he makes, because if they're gonna give him extra time off, you would figure they would do it, make 1 start, and then set him up for whenever they want him to pitch.
So that first start is against the Mets.
I think in Roto, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
I think I'd lean towards sitting him.
It depends what categories you're chasing. If it's categories league, it depends what alternatives you have. It's depends, I think, if you're thinking in a head-to-head context, even if you consider yourself the underdog or not, willing to take bigger chances. But it's telling that at this point, perhaps two-start Matthew Boyd may not be worth using.
All right, and that was the Dog of the Week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGuard Plus, Afoxolaner, Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews.
All right, welcome back to Cole Ragans. Have not been able to play that in a long time, but Cole Ragans pitched well here. He clearly was still limited against the Mariners. 3 2/3 innings, 1 hit, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on only 62 pitches here. 8 on the fastball, 4 on the slider. Velocity was pretty much fine, which we want to see coming back from a shoulder injury. Actually didn't really have his changeup working here, which is usually his best pitch. And, he still was okay even without it. He 16% started. I get it. Like, people probably didn't want to trust him his first start off the IL. He is someone who does line up for 2 starts next week. And I kind of feel like the Royals would just let him make both of those starts at the Angels, at the Athletics. What do you guys think about Cole Ragans?
Yeah, I don't think he works his way back for them to shut him down earlier than they need him to. I mean, obviously they don't need to save anything for the playoffs. So I would definitely plan on activating Cole Ragans. He basically looked fine. 62 pitches. You want him to throw more than that, obviously, but there's a good chance he'll go 80 next time. That's not a big leap. So yeah, 2-star Cole Ragans definitely worth using.
By the way, I did look it up. Surprisingly, the Angels don't have the highest whiff rate against four-seam fastballs in baseball this year.
How is that possible?
Only the 3rd highest. I didn't look just in September, but the Rays and Rockies do whiff slightly more often against four-seamers than the Angels do.
The Rays, huh? It's interesting. I would have guessed Rockies was one of the two, but
I mean, if you're doing any kind of search for futility, you're not going to go wrong betting on the Rockies. The Angels do have a 30% whiff rate on four-seamers in the month of September, though, which is almost impossibly bad.
All right, let's take a look at some potential waiver wire hitters for the final week. Dylan Cruz is waking up a bit. And, Scott, I know he's a name you mentioned a couple weeks ago that he has good matchups down the stretch here. 2 for 4 with his 16th stolen base. He has a steal in back-to-back games. And last 7 days, hitting .333 with 1 homer and 2 steals. 61% rostered, 6 games next week, 3 against White Sox pitching. So I think Dylan Cruz is in play for next week.
I would agree. Let's see. The first series is against the Braves pitching staff, so I'd probably want to know the specific pitchers he lines up to face.
I know Sale is one of them.
Sale is one of them. Waldrop, who looked pretty good. The final ERA ended up being not so great, but he had a lot of strikeouts and no walks. So, and then Bryce Elder, which is obviously a good matchup. But bottom line is he's going to be facing 3.5, 4 pitchers who that should work in favor, should be favorable for Dylan Cruz. So if you need outfield help, he's particularly in 5 outfielder leagues. He's not a bad pickup.
Chris, just yesterday, we praised Dylan Beavers for his on-base skills so far. We said, he's kind of lacking power and speed, though. What do you know? He was listening to the podcast. 1 for 3 with a sock in a shoe. The home run came off a lefty in this one, and he has a .423 on base so far. 3 homers, 2 steals, .893 OPS in 27 games, and he is 30% rostered, has 6 games next week, 2 lefties on the schedule, but has started against the last 2 lefties, and again, homered in this game. So I firmly think Dylan Beavers is in play if you lost Yordan Alvarez, you play in a 5 outfielder league. I really like what we've seen.
Yeah, he had a breakout season at AAA. He was he a first-round pick when he was drafted? I think he was.
Close to it.
And so, yeah, it really seems like he's been a breakout. And, looking ahead to 2026, the Orioles obviously have a decent number of talented outfielders. Colton Cowser among them, and maybe Enrique Bradfield figures into the mix next year. But I think Dylan Beavers has to have played in his way into a starting role for 2026.
2 other names in deeper leagues. Ha-Sung Kim has looked better with the Braves here. 2 for 4 with a walk, 2 runs, and 2 RBI. 15 games with Atlanta. He's hitting .327 with a homer, 9 runs, 8 RBI. He's 20% rostered, has second and shortstop eligibility. 6 games next week against the Nationals and the Pirates pitching. One of those is Paul Skeens, but the rest of the matchups look pretty good there. for Ha-Seong Kim. And Moises Ballesteros, 1 for 3 with his second homer. 6 games since returning. He has 8 hits and 2 home runs. He has started 6 straight, 13% rostered, 6 games next week. 2 lefties on the schedule, so we might only get 4 games there for Ballesteros. Any thoughts, any interest in those two, deep league names for the final week?
We'll point out Seiya Suzuki was back in the lineup today and playing right field, which he has not done very often. And that was to keep Moises Ballesteros' bat in the lineup at DH. So, I don't know if they would have any interest in putting him in any other defensive configuration. They haven't done it yet. So they're going to have to keep Seiya Suzuki out there in right field if they want Ballesteros in there. But they did, at least for 1 game. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, and he's now started 6 games in a row at DH. Ballesteros, his home run was hit 112.8 miles per hour, which was his hardest hit ball at any level this year. So big boy power there from Ballesteros, and really the contact skills are next level. Catcher eligible for now, won't be at least to begin next year, because I don't think he's made an appearance yet.
No.
At catcher in the majors. It's all been DH. Yeah. As for Kim, well, it sounds like the Braves might have the most favorable hitter schedule for next year, at least for next week, at least in the top 5. Kim, I think he doesn't have a steal yet since joining the Braves, which is the main thing you want from him. I think he has just 2 extra base hits, a home run and a double. So it hasn't. It's been kind of a hollow batting average, and I'm not saying if you need to pick up a shortstop, he isn't the best option. There's a very good chance he is, because that is a difficult position to fill off the waiver wire, but it is a move you should only make in desperation.
Yeah, and we just lost Zach Neto to the IL, and obviously he was such a key cog for many fantasy teams this season, so we might need shortstop replacements for the final week of the season, and perhaps Ha-Seong Kim is in play more so in deeper leagues. Let's take our final break. When we return, I have a few waiver wire pitchers for the final week. Can we see ourselves using any of these? We'll talk about that right after this.
I wasn't ready to die.
The wait is over.
I need to know what happened.
Discover the mystery everyone's been talking about. School Spirits. Every episode of all seasons now streaming on Paramount+.
Waiver wire pitchers for the final week of the season. Hurston Waldrop was okay at the Nationals. 5 innings, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts, 0 walks. That is the key there for Waldrop. Threw 63% of his pitches for strikes. He was also coming off his worst start of the season, so nice to see him bounce back a little bit. He gets the Nationals again next week. On paper, it's a great start. I say this often. I don't like young pitchers facing the same lineup 2 times in a row, but it is a good matchup. How do you guys feel about Waldrop for next week?
I think I've been underrating how good of a matchup the Nationals are for opposing pitchers, because like James Wood and CJ Abrams have both been terrible in the second
It's
half.
just the Dale Lyle show.
Yeah, and I think so. He had 8 strikeouts through 4 innings. Did Waldrop, and then things kind of fell apart in the 5th. But I was encouraged to see the lack of walks, and I think the matchup is favorable enough. Even going against them a second time, there's just not much in the Nationals lineup right now to fear. So I think he's a fine streamer for next week.
Second lowest WOBA, second highest strikeout rate in the majors since the All-Star break.
All right. Christian Javier outpitched Jacob deGrom here, going up against the Rangers. 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, had 9 whiffs on 88 pitches. And he's become more of a complete pitcher so far this season. He's throwing 5 different pitches consistently. Not all of them are good, but at least 3 of them have looked all right so far. His fastball, changeup, and sweeper. He is at the Athletics and at the Angels for the final week of the season. The Astros also could be looking to line up their pitching staff for a wild card round. I don't know how much Christian Javier factors into that. What do you guys think about the matchups at the Athletics, at the Angels next week for Christian Javier?
Yeah, what would their postseason rotation be?
You got to
Brown,
think
Framber.
Yeah, those 2 for sure.
Brown, Fromber, and I mean, I guess Javier could be the third.
I'd go with Javier over Jason Alexander and AJ Bluvo. I actually do not know how to pronounce that guy's name. I'm apologizing. But I think it would be Javier for a third starter if they need it.
I think it's Blue Ball.
Yeah.
Blue Ball? Okay.
Blue Ball. Yeah, he might be. And even if so, they would line him up for the third game. And so that would probably allow him to make that final start against the Angels, which is the more favorable of those two matchups. I am not convinced of anything with Javier. Like, there were some signs early on that, okay, maybe like the velocity was up on his fastball back to where it was when he was last good. Obviously, the shape of the fastball is more important for Javier than the velocity, but added velocity helps. The control has come and gone. I think because he lines up for 2 starts, head-to-head points leagues, a lot of times you're chasing volume. Okay, it's probably fine to roll Christian Javier out there, but it's not something I'm eager to do if I'm having to shoehorn him in there. It's not worth it.
Justin Verlander continues to pitch well in the second half. 7 shutout innings here with only 3 strikeouts. Velocity was actually down across the board here, but it didn't matter. He pitched well in the second half, a 2.63 ERA, a 1.25 whip there for Verlander. And he looks like he lines up for 2 next week as well. Cardinals and Rockies on the road in San Francisco. So, man, those matchups look amazing for Verlander next week.
Yep. I've been telling people for a couple weeks now, even if you don't want to start Verlander now, you're going to want him for that last week if your league uses it. And it looks like it's all lining up for him to have that sweet 2-start slate. And with the way he's pitched lately, which doesn't seem totally legit. I wish the strikeouts were a little higher, but it's a great ERA. Did you read off the exact numbers? I have them here. Last 5, 0.87 ERA, 103 whip. 8.1 K per 9.
All right.
Tyler Did you read those already?
No. I did second half numbers, not his last 5. Tyler Wells was great at the White Sox. 6 innings, 1 run, 4 strikeouts to 0 walks here. Honestly, it looks like he didn't have his best stuff in this one, but he didn't walk anybody. And obviously that helped a ton here. That's back-to-back quality starts. He's allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in all 3 of his outings. He also has just 1 walk in 17 2/3 innings. 18% rostered, widely available, could be out there in deeper leagues. And he gets the Rays next week. As we pointed out, they strike out quite a bit, and they might be without Junior Caminero too. So I like Tyler Wells quite a bit for this final start as well.
Yeah, I think he's a perfectly fine streamer.
He's been a really clutch pickup. Part of it is just the matchups were stacked for him. Let's see, what was it? So it was obviously the White Sox in this start for Tyler Wells. It was Pittsburgh last time. And like, if he's not giving up home runs, if you don't have that fear that they're gonna ambush him with a ton of home runs, then he's probably going to be great because he walks nobody, and most of the batted balls are in the air for Tyler Wells. If they're not going over the fence, they're probably caught for outs, and that's what we've seen here with these favorable matchups for him. Not a big strikeout rate, but particularly if you're really needing a whip specialist here, I think Tyler Wells is a good choice.
Where did this come from? Brandon Pfaadt was incredible against the Giants. 9 shutout innings. It wasn't a shutout because the game went into extra innings, but only 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, had 14 whiffs on 97 pitches. Kind of just feels like an outlier. Great start because his previous 9 outings. It's a 6.65 ERA, 174 whip, and he gets the Dodgers next week. So great start, but don't think it matters.
I mean, he's got a 5 ERA for his career. I don't think he's very good.
I can't even tell you why the start went so right for Brandon Pfaadt. I can't explain the start that just was. And yeah, obviously against the Dodgers, you're not gonna risk it.
Some pitchers stumbling to the finish line. We mentioned Matthew Boyd, David Peterson as well. He's kind of scuffling here against the Padres. He allowed 6 runs over 5 innings, and over his last 8 starts, it's a 7.59 ERA and a 1.66 whip. 20 walks over 40 in a third inning. So the walks have really been a problem there. He is 55% started and looks like he lines up for 2 next week at the Cubs and at the Marlins. So what do we do?
Points leagues are probably going to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But probably not Roto. And that's it.
All right, fair enough. Starter sit these pitchers for the final week. Brady Singer has had himself a nice second half. Last 10 starts, 2.15 ERA and a .94 whip. He is 56% started, and he gets the Pirates and at the Brewers next week. What do you think about Brady Singer?
It's fine. It's always risky with him. There's always blow up potential here, but I think that's perfectly fine. It's one great matchup, one matchup that is not good, but the Brewers very well may have nothing to play for by the time they get there. So that could be, point. The one thing about the Brewers, though, is they do have just a ton of interchangeable parts, and I don't know if, like, they empty the bench, it's actually going to make their lineup all that worse because they just have all the same version of guys, but there's a decent chance that he's playing like a skeleton crew in that start. So I do think Brady Singer's a pretty good start next week.
And he's actually like legitimately gotten better by mixing in the sweeper more. He didn't actually do it as much in this start, but it has been a trend coinciding with his run of success here. We've seen more strikeouts from Brady Singer because of it. Like he may have made a developmental leap here. Not that I have total faith in him, but it makes it a little easier to recommend him with everything on the line like this.
Luis Gil threw 6 no-hit innings his last time out, and on Wednesday night, it was the complete opposite. At the Twins, 4 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. I know you guys have been very skeptical on Luis Gil the entire way. The only thing I wanted to bring up is that he lines up for 2 next week. It's against the White Sox and the Orioles. So someone might be able to talk themselves into using Luis Gil. I'm not sure it's going to be us.
He didn't even allow. Did I write this down right? He didn't allow a home run in this start.
No,
right?
He just got hit to death. He gave up 12 hard hits. So he threw more strikes, but they were just ready to pounce on all of his pitches. Well,
but
he's not getting whiffs this season either. So
that is one thing worth noting about strike percentage is if you give up a lot of balls in play, those are technically strikes, right? And he had, 12 balls in play at least in this one? No, it would be 20 balls in play.
So you're saying even if they may have made contact out of the zone, it would have been a ball if they didn't swing. But.
Or they might have just been bad pitches that, okay, great, it's a strike, but it got hit 98 miles an hour. So I don't want to give a ton of credit for that, you know?
Yeah. The reason I brought up the home run issue is that seems like where Gil's going to give a lot back because he's a fly ball pitcher in a homer-friendly park. He's allowed only 2 home runs all year. It can't continue. So that he blew up even without home runs being a problem, I cannot see myself using him in any context. Maybe like extremely deep points leagues where you're just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best with the 2 starts, but I think he's likely to do more harm than good.
I think he's a pure bench player for next season. I don't think he's someone that you draft in the first, 30 rounds. Is that too, or 23 rounds? Is that too mean? No. I know he had the injury and maybe he just hasn't been right all season, but
he wasn't good in the second half last year.
Yeah, you got to go back to the first half of 2024 for Luis Gil really pitching well. Even when the ERA's been good, the whip is a disaster. The strikeout rate is way down. It's just he really has not given us anything to be optimistic about in over 14 months now. So, yeah.
Breakout hitter appreciation. Just want to highlight some names here. Guys that have vastly outperformed their ADP from before the season. Jeremy Pena, 2 for 4 with his 16th home run. And overall, he is hitting .305. Those 16 homers, as I mentioned, 20 steals. He did all of that while missing over a month of the season with a fractured rib. His preseason ADP was 160. So on a per-game basis, for sure, Jeremy Pena has been a pretty nice breakout this season there. Taylor Ward, another big game, 3 for 4 with 2 homers. He's up to 33 on the season with 100 RBI. And his preseason
serial bets coming down to the wire here, Frank. I was feeling pretty good until this 2-homer game for Ward.
He didn't homer for a while, and I started thinking, I'm going to lose this bet. I have no chance. For those wondering, Scott and I have an over-under for Taylor Ward. Scott went under 34.5. I went over 34.5, and the winner gets a box of cereal of their choice. So Taylor Ward, preseason ADP was 175. He very clearly has outperformed that. Big season for him.
I mean, drafting Taylor Ward 4 straight years has basically been a money printer. It's like been a money printer that prints like singles. Like it's not like you're not getting hundreds out of it. But
this season has been
this season. I mean, he was. I can't remember but his ADP had to have been outside of the top 100, 150. I would guess
175.
Yeah, so that's been awesome. I don't expect him to be quite this good next season, but if he stays healthy, 25 to 30 homers and good run production is a pretty decent bet. So it's, I would guess he's going to be a little underrated again next year.
It's easier to say that for 5 outfielder leagues, I think, than 3 outfielder leagues, because normal Taylor Ward, obviously he's had a career season, but normal Taylor Ward is really fringy in 3 outfielder leagues.
Yes,
and I think that more the kind of guy you fall back on off the waiver wire than you make part of your draft strategy.
And I would guess even this season, he's probably an okay points league player, but I wouldn't think he's top 12 or anything.
No, not top 12.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I mean, he's not top 12
he's
in a
about
roto
20th,
either,
it looks like.
The batting average is so low.
That's still pretty good, though. 20th outfielder in a points league?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely that's he's been must start in points leagues this year.
Yeah. Next up, Trevor Story, man. 2 for 4 with a walk, a run, RBI, and his 31st stolen base. He was actually 31 for 31 in steals this season, and then he was actually caught stealing later in this game. So I really wanted him to have that kind of flawless stolen base season for Trevor Story. But even with that, he's hit 24 homers, 266 batting average, runs and RBI are great. Preseason ADP was 253. Sal Frelick, wanted to give him a shout out, has quietly had a productive season as well. He hit a 3-run homer here, 296 batting average, 11 homers, 19 steals, kind of what we were expecting from Steven Kwan. And you got Sal Frelick at 385 in preseason ADP. You might have been able to just pick him up in a lot of leagues as well.
He should just be straight up drafted ahead of Steven Kwan next year, right? Like it's been a really quiet breakout for Frelick.
If not close to each other, they should probably go in the 150-ish range or something like that. Maybe even a little bit later. But
the one thing I would struggle with in points leagues is just Kwan's going to end up with about 80 more plate appearances. And I just don't know if the Brewers are going to change their approach where they really mix and match. There aren't many everyday players in their lineup, and he hasn't quite been an everyday player. That would be my one concern with Sal Frelick.
Didn't Frelick miss time with injury? Isn't that why the games are lacking?
I don't
He has mostly played against left-handed pitching this season too. Now that I'm looking at it,
looks like he missed about
a little time right after the All-Star
13 games, but it looks like it was only about a week.
Mm-hmm. He does sit against some lefties, but for the most part, he does play against left-handed pitching. So perhaps seeing this breakout, they'll expand his role going into next season. That's kind of the glass half full. But like you pointed out, the Brewers do like to mix and match quite a bit on that team as well. But you know what? He was a first-round pick, and this is the player we thought he could become, and it's happening now for Sal Frelick. And 2 undrafted names who have just both been huge finds this year. Ramon Laureano hit his 24th home run. He's also hitting 288. He has 6 steals and 879 OPS. And Trent Grisham, 2 more home runs. He has 12 homers in his past 26 games. And he is up to 33 home runs on the season with 80 runs scored. The batting average, 240, not great, but he gets on base, an 825 OPS. Very interested to see what kind of contract and who signed Trent Grisham this offseason, because this is very clearly an outlier in his career. But both him and Laureano have been very, very big wins, mostly in like 5 outfielder leagues, but great players.
And Laureano's going to be back in the Padres lineup next year, which is going to be another solid lineup because he's
still signed.
Yeah, he's got a club option for 2026 for like $4 million or something.
Right.
I was going to say, and I don't know, were you still talking about Laureano, Chris? Finish.
No, go for it.
So I was going to say for Trent Grisham, you might think that leaving the Yankees would ruin him. But last I checked, and I'm pulling it up now to confirm, he has been much better. Yes, much better. Whether you're talking about, oh my gosh, much better on the road than at home this year. 272, 19 homers, 907 OPS on the road versus 197, 12, 698 at home.
That's weird.
So he's
Maybe
not a product of Yankee Stadium.
Maybe he's tried too hard to sell out when he's at home, and it's effective. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's surprising.
I mean, Yankee Stadium's been great for Jazz Chisholm and Cody Bellinger this year, but not Trent Grisham, who's the one you'd most expect would be venue dependent.
I mean, I think he's probably gone from like a 1 year, $8 million kind of contract to, I would guess you're going to see at least Jurickson Profar's contract last year, right?
At least a 3-year deal, I think, for Grisham.
Yeah. What did Jurickson Profar sign? It was like 480, 465. I would guess
I think it was
something in that.
I think it was 336.
3 for 36. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was lower than I thought. Good contract.
That's probably a fair comp, I think.
I would guess.
But Grisham's a few years younger.
Yeah,
he's gonna turn 29 this offseason.
Yeah, and he's
better defensively. He's not as good defensively as he used to be, but
a capable center field. Not good anymore, but he can play center field. So I don't know. I think he's going to get at least $60 million.
Interesting there for Trent Grisham. Hitters finishing strong. Ian Happ, 2 for 4 with his 23rd home run in September. He's hitting .321 with 5 homers, a steal, and an OPS over 1,000. Nico Horner, his teammate, also a big September, .410 batting average, 1 homer, 15 runs, 5 steals, OPS over 1,000. Matt Olson is scorching. He has homered in 5 of his last 6 games. And in September, .383, 7 homers, a 1291 OPS. Jackson Merrill, better late than never, last 10 games, hitting .341 with 5 homers, 10 RBI, and OPS over 1,300. Aaron Judge, last 16 games for him, hitting .404, 6 homers, 19 runs, 3 steals, OPS over 1,300 during that time. And one who's kind of finishing strong, Salvador Perez, has 4 homers in his past 4 games, hitting for power in September, but not much batting average. Anything to add on any of these strong finishers?
So I do want to talk about Jackson Merrill because the timeline doesn't really work out this way. He was, well, no, I guess I thought he got off to a slower start than he did, but he actually had, when he suffered his concussion in mid-June.
He was good in April.
Yeah, he was hitting .304 with an .822 OPS when he suffered the concussion. So, I mean, that might explain a decent amount of it, because concussions are the kind of thing that, and he missed time with a foot or an ankle in August as well. Bone bruise in his ankle, I think. And concussions, though, are specifically the type of thing that even if you come back after a week, and he missed 1 week, you just don't know how that's going to affect people. That there are guys whose careers have been ruined by Justin Morneau was a guy whose entire career was ruined by concussions. Anthony Rizzo, I think we can say his career was ruined by a concussion. You can be symptom free. You can be capable of playing, but anytime you're dealing with the head, and especially with a sport like baseball that's all reaction time and processing, if you're a tenth of a second off, you're not going to hit the ball. Like, that's how fast the ball is moving. So it's entirely plausible, and I think pretty likely that the reason Jackson Merrill's season went off the rails is because of the concussion.
Could be. I will add that I'm really encouraged by the way Ian Happ is closing out the season. He's now basically gotten his numbers right where they were the previous 2 years.
I mean, is he the new Chris Davis with a K? He's had 3 of the same seasons in a row, Ian Happ, basically.
It's kind of Brian Reynolds.
It's from a fantasy perspective, Happ is more attuned to points leagues, while Chris Davis with a K was more for roto leagues.
I just meant in the way that Chris Davis was like.
I get what you meant. I'm just,
same
metronomic, that metronomic consistency.
Yeah. So I gathered, because I have Ian Happ in a couple of like dynasty long-term focused leagues, and there was a point mid-season where it just seemed like he had no value. But I think he's reclaimed it. He's 31. Obviously, the Cubs have a lot of bats they're trying to work in. So I think it was reasonable. It's not the stance I took, but I think it was reasonable to think, oh, maybe we're seeing the end here for Ian Happ. But no, we're not. Here's
a question. I think, let me make sure. Obviously, we don't know if Kyle Tucker's going to be re-signed, but even if they don't re-sign him, Owen Casey likely steps into the outfield. Both Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki are expiring contracts in 2026. There's a decent chance one of those guys gets traded, right? Like, just the way the roster works out, like, are they just not going to have Moises Ballesteros up there again? He's proven everything he can at AAA. Are they not going to have Owen Casey in the lineup? Like, they've got to open up at least one spot, maybe two.
I mean, they're in contention mode, right?
Yeah.
So it could be that one of the young guys is traded instead.
Sure. It's also entirely possible that happens, yeah. But
it's big off season for the Cubs.
I do think that given the fact that both of those guys are expiring, if they don't extend either of them, and they're both 31? Yeah, Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki are both 31, so extending them is iffy. I think that's going to be an interesting offseason storyline to follow for sure.
That's why the Cubs and Marlins always felt like a match made in heaven for a trade, right? Because the Marlins have exciting pitchers. Obviously, you could always use more pitching, and the Cubs just have this glut of outfielders, whether it's prospects or major league ready players who are performing now. It always felt like it made sense. It didn't happen for whatever reason. Some other hitting leftovers. Spencer Steer returned to the lineup with a bang, 3 for 4 with his 18th home run and 5 RBI. He missed the previous 3 games with neck spasms. He actually has kind of gotten his numbers to respectability, close to where they have been in recent years. The biggest drop is the stolen bases. They went from 25 to 7. Obviously, that's huge, but everything else is kind of in line with what we were expecting from Spencer Steer. Ronald Acuna is picking things back up, 3 for 5 with his 7th home run. Last 7 games, he's hitting over 400 with 2 homers and a steal. Manny Machado, 3 for 5 with a grand sock and a shoe. His 26th home run, his 14th.
He stole all 4 bases?
A grand sock.
A grand sock. That's right. Last week, he heard us call him the dog of the week. And over his last 4 games, he has 8 hits, 3 homers, 8 RBI, and a steal. So
I wonder if there are any grand socks around here.
If you look, Scott, I'm sure you'll find some.
I don't know that I want to.
Pete Alonso has homered in 3 straight. He's up to 36. And Jose Altuve hit his 26th home run of the season. He had a huge July, but since the start of August, Altuve has slowed down quite a bit. He's hitting 212 with a sub 700 OPS.
I'm not sure he's a top 5 second baseman for next year. Is that a hot take? Is that too hot? Is that scorching?
I think it's just because the top of the position is not great, but
Jazz Chisholm, Ketel Marte, Bryce Terang. I think those 3 have to rank ahead of him. I don't know that Keishel does. I would think not.
In Roto, I think I'd take Nico Horner over him.
Does Michael Garcia
over Altuve?
I think so, yeah.
Does Michael Garcia have second base?
I don't think Michael Garcia is second base eligible.
No, he's just third base to begin next year.
Got it.
He could still make 3 appearances at shortstop, but that seems unlikely.
Yeah, so I went Jose Altuve at 5 in Roto. Ozzy Albies at 6. So no idea what to do there. Yeah. Brandon Lowe at 7. Luke Keishel at 8.
Yeah, I think Altuve.
So you don't actually agree with your hot take because you have Altuve 4th.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
I think he's on that fringe, though. I think that kind of makes sense how you laid that out.
I not sure he's a top 100 pick next year. At least in
if he is, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be, I think he's 36. He's going to be 36 next season.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had a strong year though.
Yeah, but it's going to end up being basically one category where he's a plus.
And the steals came down too.
Yeah. It's like weirdly, it's just going to be home runs that he's like an actual plus in. The runs and RBI were pretty limited for him.
He turns 36 in early May of next season. So
I think he's still a solid starter.
And you just don't want to be caught holding the bag, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of mid 30s.
I mean, even Marcus Semien though, he was going around 75th, 80th, like 100th seems like a stretch. And look, Semien didn't live up to it, so maybe learn the lesson. But Simeon's 2024 was much worse than Altuve's 2025.
Some pitching leftovers. Kevin Gausman, another strong start. 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, had 17 whiffs on 95 pitches. In the second half, 2.19 ERA, 0.78 whip for Kevin Gausman. Brandon Woodruff pitched well against the Angels. 5 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts, 17 whiffs on 69 pitches. Only 6 on the fastball, surprisingly, but 8 on the cutter. His velocity was down across the board. I watched an interview after the start. He said he wasn't concerned with the velocity. It was down early on in the first inning, and then it was basically fine from the second inning on. So maybe just a slow start. This is also, he hasn't started since September 6th. So it's been quite a while since Brandon Woodruff has pitched.
I think the key to Woodruff this year, like when he's been good, he's featured the cutter more. When he's been bad, he's featured the cutter less. And that's been a new pitch for him basically this year. So that seems to be making up for the loss of velocity, even when he loses a little more velocity, like happened in this start.
You said only 6 whiffs on the fastball, and I get that you were doing a bit because it's the Angels. He only threw 16 of them. Yeah. He got 6 whiffs on 13 swings on the fastball. That's a massive number still.
Yeah.
He just didn't need it. He only threw 69 pitches.
It must, like, that cutter must counter the fastball so well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see it where the cutter, I think Carlos Rodon's cutter kind of screwed up his fastball, but sometimes you see it where the cutter itself, it was phenomenal in this start, but generally hasn't been like a great swing and miss pitch. But ideally, the cutter makes everything better, even if it's not great on its own. There was a really good, I think Lance Brozdowski had a really good.
Yeah, we need Lance Brozdowski to weigh in on this.
He had go check out his YouTube channel. He had like a good like hour-long breakdown a couple weeks ago about like the year of the cutter. That was fascinating.
Well, the offseason's coming, and I'm sure we'll have a couple episodes with Lance Brozdowski this offseason. Call to the bullpen for the Orioles. Keegan Aiken entered the 9th with a 2-run lead. He gave up a hit, but picked up his 7th save. And Aiken has the last 2 saves for the Orioles and 3 of the last 4. For the Rays, Pete Fairbanks got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He struck out 1 for his 27th save. For the Royals, Carlos Estevez got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He allowed a run on 3 hits, but picked up his league-leading 40th save of the year. For the Padres, Robert Suarez got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He allowed 2 base runners. Dramatic situation facing Juan Soto, final batter of the game, but he did get him out and picked up his 39th save there. And for the Astros, Brian Abreu was unavailable. Lefty Brian King got the final 4 outs for his 2nd save of the year. To stream or not to stream on Thursday, Scott, shield your eyes, close your ears, because Chris and I mentioned today, this is probably the worst day that we've had all year.
Just don't do it.
That's saying something.
It's like Jonah Tong against the Padres, Randy Vasquez at the Mets, JT Ginn at the Red Sox, Stephen Kolek against the Mariners, Nate Povich against the Yankees, Yusei Kikuchi at the Brewers.
It's Jonah Tong. He's the most talented pitcher of this group. I know he's been terrible, but
you can't use him after his last start.
Again, like I said, I think I said this last night. If you put a gun to my head, it's Jonah Tong. You should not put a gun to my head. That would be very rude.
If I had to use one, I would say Kolek, but
I'm with you, Frank. Again, the answer is nobody. But just for argument's sake, if you have to pick somebody from Thursday who's in the roster range that we discuss here, Kolek, just hope for a quality start. Hope he gives you a really boring quality start.
And then on Friday, we have Will Warren at the Orioles, Brandon Sproat against the Nationals, Parker Messick is at the Twins, Luis Severino at the Pirates. He's been much better on the road as well, so that's an added plus there. Andrew Alvarez at the Mets.
Yeah, Sproat against the Nationals seems like a great choice. Messick at the Twins, certainly.
I will just point out the Twins lineup has been very pesky, and they just put up another 6 or 7 runs against the Yankees.
Yeah, but Wallner and Larnach come out against lefties, so I think it makes it a little better. And then Luis Severino at Pittsburgh, just because of the matchup, would probably be my 3rd choice.
I like all 3 of those guys more than anybody on Thursday.
Agreed. 100%. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.